many of you grew up with I Dream of Jeannie? Oh, good. And how many grew up with Dallas? Well, that's a pretty majority, ain't it? That's pretty good, I must say. That makes me feel good. You'd think you know a lot about me. Well, I've been rebuilding myself as a solar icon, to tell you the truth. I got involved with Bob Freeling about 11 years ago. He asked me to sit on the board. His father was my attorney in Dallas, did me a lot of good turns. And actually, I introduced SolarWorld and Bob Freeling together so they could work together. And that was a couple of years ago at Bonn. I was out in an old retired Soviet air base. And as far as you could see was solar power. Solar panels, I mean, I've never seen an array like that in my life. It's staggering. And Germany gets about, I think probably 2/3 of what the sun we have here, and still they make it work. And Germany leads, as far as I know, in solar power. And America used to, and now we're behind again because we let our inventions go to other countries. And I got started in solar on my arrays at home when a tree fell on a power line in Ohio and cut off all electricity for the eastern seaboard and part of Canada. Well, I thought it was time to look after myself. I have a little farm, and I raise avocados and all my own vegetables and everything. And I thought, well, if the infrastructure is so delicate that a tree falling in Ohio could shut off almost 1/3 of the United States, I better look to my own future. So I invested in solar. I spent $750,000 building a solar array. The first one was for the well. I had to have water to get to the vegetation, to get to storage, to get to vegetation. So I did that, and it worked so well, I thought I'd do my home also. So I did that, and I got some good breaks. In California, they have a law that the manufacturer, Edison, has to give you a certain amount of money for your investment. So they gave me $310,000 out of $750. That brings it down to $440,000 out of my own pocket. That works very well. I ought to pay it off in another 300 or 400 years. Anyhow, it's worked for me, and it'll work for everybody if they just do it. I think if we got the same breaks that the oil and the coal industries got, we could really make a difference, and that's all political. My solar is very reliable. It's never gone out on me. It just sits there. It makes good financial sense, and it's environmentally better, a lot better. There's no moving parts, no emissions, and no fuels, and here's the sound it makes. That's it. No great things pumping up and down, no rotors. It's a wonderful way of getting energy. My bills dropped from $37,000 a year to $13 a year, and that will pay off. I think it'll really pay off in about another 5 years because the price of energy is going up about 6% every year, and it's all fluctuating according to what the foreign countries do to our oil imports and so forth. Energy technology made in America, catching the sun on U.S. soil, producing energy exactly where the energy is needed and used. I use all the stuff. I use the grid as a battery. I can't afford batteries yet. They're really expensive. But I use the grid as that battery, and it works for me. Environmental security, we have no spills, nothing to transport, no emissions, no rods to store, and it's fully recyclable. Economy security, new manufacturing work for soldiers returning and jobless if it's manufactured here, plus no oil price shocks. And international security, fewer military conflicts over foreign energy and better balance of trade. And if you don't think our wars in Iran are oil motivated, somebody's been lying to you. I wonder who that would be. Never mind, no names. The key to ask smart questions about solar technology: will it perform to high U.S. quality standards? Will it be made cleanly according to U.S. environmental rules? Will the maker employ Americans according to U.S. labor standards? Will the manufacturer last long enough to back its product? Will the solar purchase make Americans more independent? Well, of course it will. I mean, we've got to do something about it. We can't import all our energy. I mean, people just don't realize how important electricity is. It's only been around for about 100 years. And just to walk over to the wall and flip a switch and then my magic, the light comes on, is something that many people in the world, like 2 billion people, cannot imagine. And that's where self comes in. That's what they're doing. Now, what would JR do? What will we all need to do? And I've moved off oil, or JR has moved off oil. It's time for Americans to take stock of time. Now, see, we don't have a lot of time. I figured 10 to 15 years before there isn't the kind of energy that we can use cheaply. It's just, we're using more oil now than we're discovering. And when you discover oil, it takes about 10 years to come online. And I don't think we have 10 years anymore. The government can't pull a genie out of the bottle. I don't know who wrote that, but I like the idea. No pun intended, of course. The Americans must act to build their own energy security. Only a couple of alternatives are proven, and solar is the most ideal. Now, wind power is great, but have you ever heard it? Have you ever been up close to one of those things? It's enough to drive you nuts. I wouldn't want it in my backyard. And it's a lot of moving parts. It takes a lot of maintenance, a lot. And solar energy doesn't take any. It just sits there and makes electricity like crazy. Going solar, an American needs to choose with care. They can't tell what they're getting from many markets. That's true. Plus, soldiers returning from oil-soaked wars need a new mission. Now, Americans need a new mission because it's been nearly 2 decades since I quit playing JR. And it was a good time to quit, too, because the U.S. oil industry was so 1980s. I'm reaching my own 80s now. I'll be 79 in September, and I'm kind of worried. Some people blame the oil companies, and some people blame government. But in the end, it's we who pretty much tell them what to do. We think. JR would have plainly seen that the safe money is on Americans building power and financial security one roof at a time. In California, there's a new thing going, 1 million roofs or something that Arnold Schwarzenegger has tried to implement. And it's really important that we do that because if they get a break when they're building new homes on energy, I think it would go a long way helping the cause, because solar is the cause now for me. The people in this country must, as they say, think globally by acting locally. Now, this country is the former and next great solar power, and we must see that it's time. And time now for Americans to rise up and shine. So shine, baby, baby, shine. Have you all got one of these? Well, wear them proudly, because we need to do it. Thank you.